Who doesn't like cake? That's good cake. And with that, let's get into our lesson for today. We're going to be learning about an intermediate topic, which is actually like a particle. It attaches directly after a noun, and it's really easy to use. Here's how it works. You take a noun and you attach man, followed by 해도. So any noun you want, it doesn't matter whether it ends in a consonant or a vowel. You attach man. Man is the regular particle, which you probably know that means just or only. So literally we have just noun or only noun. And then 해도, which is actually originally from 하다. 하다, when you conjugate it, you get 해. And the 도 form of 하다 is 해도. So literally 하다 is like to do. This 하다 here is used to represent a different verb. You can think of this as meaning not just do 하다, but also think 하다. So even if I think only this noun, so like even if I only think about this noun. So this form is used when you are explaining something to someone and you're giving an example of it. So let me show you what I mean. There are many things to consider. However, even if we're only talking about noun. So again, even if I'm only thinking about noun, literally becomes, there are many things to consider, but even if we're only going to talk about this noun, that's what this form is used for. And there are other ways you can also translate this, depending on what sounds the most natural. Just noun, for example. So like just that, for example. Or even take this noun, for example. So take that, for example. So these are other ways you might want to translate it. You might be thinking, Billy, this kind of sounds like the topic marker. And you'd be right. Anytime you see this form, you could simply just pretend it didn't exist. Or maybe replace it in your head with the topic marker. It adds no meaning to the sentence, other than to add emphasis. Take this, for example. You could also just say this with the topic marker. This also kind of does that same thing too, just without that extra emphasis. So you can think of 만 해도 as just an extra emphatic topic marker. Okay, let's do some examples. 작년 여름. So last year's summer. So last summer, 만 해도. Even if we think about only last year's summer, literally, or take last year's summer, for example, or just last year's summer alone, or you can just get rid of this. If you want to understand the sentence more easily, 작년 여름, with the topic marker like that. That's fine too. 이렇게 덥지 않았어요. It wasn't this hot. But if you want to emphasize, I'm not just talking about like last year's summer, but like last year's summer, for example, let me emphasize this. It wasn't this hot, but you could technically remove it and you have the same sentence just without that nuance of emphasizing what you're using it after. 작년 여름만 해도 이렇게 덥지 않았어요. Even just last year, it wasn't this hot. 이 가방, so this bag. 이 가방만 해도. So even if we're only thinking about this bag, so take this bag, for example, 10kg가 넘어요. It's over 10 kilograms. Just this bag alone is over 10 kilograms. This just adds emphasis to the fact that you're giving it as an example. 이 가방만 해도 10kg가 넘어요. So just this bag alone, or take this bag, for example, it's over 10 kilograms. 5년 전만 해도 집에서 일하는 사람은 많지 않았어요. So even just 5 years ago, 집에서 일하다, to work at home, 일하는 사람, so people working from home, 많지 않았어요. 많다 is to be a lot, so there weren't a lot of people working from home even just 5 years ago. 5년 전만 해도 집에서 일하는 사람은 많지 않았어요. 철수만 해도, so even if we just think about 철수, so take 철수, for example, 누나가 셋이에요. So he has 3 older sisters. So older sister, 셋, 3. 철수만 해도. So take 철수, for example, 누나가 셋이에요. He has 3 older sisters. 이 가게는, so this store, 몇 달 전만 해도. So just 몇 달, a few months. Note that 몇 means how many in a question, but it means a few or some in a statement. So even a few months ago, 손님 is a customer, 많았는데, so they had a lot of customers up until a few months ago. 문을 닫았네요. They closed shop. Just a few months ago, there were a lot of customers at the store, but they closed. 이 가게는 몇 달 전만 해도 손님이 많았는데 문을 닫았네요. So even just until a few months ago, 손님이 많았는데 they had a lot of customers, but 문을 닫았네요. But they closed. There is another form that you should also know in addition to this one. This form might look so unique, but it's literally the exact same as the form we just did, except it sounds a little bit stronger because the form 하더라도 is just a stronger version of 해도. So this is the same thing, just more emphatic. It's less common than 만 해도, but you might see it. Here's an example sentence. 김치만 하더라도 생각보다 종류가 다양해요. So take kimchi for example. 생각보다, more than you think. 종류. 종류 is a variety, a type, a kind of something. 종류가 다양하다. 다양하다 means to be various. So there are more various types of kimchi than you think. So take kimchi for example. There are more varieties than you think. 김치만 하더라도 생각보다 종류가 다양해요. I have a couple notes for those of you who are advanced and who want to learn a little bit beyond the lesson that we're doing today. If you want to replace this form with something that sounds more literal, but has the same meaning, even if you only look at the cases of this noun, this is another form you can replace it with. So if you don't want to say 만 해도 or 만 하더라도, if you want to say something literal, like, okay, even if you only look at these cases, or even if you only think about this one thing here, if you want to emphasize it even further by using a literal grammar form, this is what you can use. So you take a noun, you attach 에 경우만 봐도. Literally, even if you look at only situations or cases of this noun, and you can replace this with the other form. Or there is another form. This has a different literal meaning than the other ones. 같다 is to be similar to or to be like. So even if something is only like noun is the literal meaning you get. But this form has the same meaning as 해도. So even if you only think about noun. So same meaning, less common than 만 해도, but you might see this one sometimes. But that's all you need to know. Thank you everyone for coming, and I will see you again next time. 그럼 다음에 또 봐.